Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of Walking with the Master. Peace be unto you. All right, listen, y'all. We're here again, one more again for this show. This show is dedicated to Dr. Moses Powell, and just coming from his presence to where we are today. And I have two young gentlemen. No, I'm not going to call them gentlemen. Two young soldiers and warriors in the cause of teaching our babies and adults as well. And I want to just welcome them. But before I do that, I want to let everyone know I'm Grandmaster Abdul Azziz Muhammad, also formerly known as Grandmaster Anthony Muhammad. And we are doing this podcast so that you can be edified by the information and those that come on. And it's called Walking with the Master. And I'm going to walk with two masters that are here with me. They are masters in their own rank, and they are also students of yours truly. But they have a life of their own. They have done many things. And in fact, they're not only students of mine, they're teachers of mine in this area that we're gonna talk about. All right. So let me introduce them to you. We have Master Daniel Muhammad here. He's out of the Chicagoland area, and we have Master Kameron Ali, and he is coming up out of the Maryland area. Listen, these are some great giants that I'm so pleased to have on my team. So let me just welcome them to the show. Welcome, my brothers. Us,
yeah.
Just mine, Jim. To be on with a living legend is the honor's mine. So I'm just happy to be here with my brothers and to be a part of this great interview.
Us.
Always appreciate the opportunity, sir. We understand we stand on your shoulders. So even though we should be interviewing you, we appreciate you giving us the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Man, awesome. Well, we're going to get right into it. And I want everybody, all of you out there to just kind of hang out and listen, because they have so much to share. And we're going to just get right into it. Now, what we normally start off with, brothers, is that we start off with really going to the root of you all. Where did you start? What did you do? How did you start in the art, and just your progression up until now? And I'm curious, so let me put my seatbelt on. I'm waiting for it as well. All right, so let's listen. Daniel Ursat, Sensei Daniel, let me hear you.
So my martial arts journey started pretty early. My father actually, I want to say, lived vicariously through me. So he had a desire to be in the arts. As a young boy, he wanted me to get involved in something to defend myself, and he took me initially up north to a school here in Chicago. They were doing judo. They bragged about how many countries came through their doors to train with them. And, all of it sounded good on paper, but when I was in the atmosphere, it just didn't feel right. I just didn't feel like I liked the style. I didn't like what I saw. So my dad was a little disappointed, unfortunately. But we also had some other family members who were training at another school, and they invited once they found out that we were searching for schools. So when I went to check that one out, I saw a bunch of other young people my age, which was the first appealing factor, because the other one was just all adults. But when I looked around and saw some other young people doing some moves and ki-ing and punching and kicking, I was like, oh yeah, this the place for me. So I started my journey at around 11 years old, training in karate, purely karate, under Master Darian Winder. And that's where I also received my first black belt from him as well. And that's pretty much the gist of my journey, of course, until I ran into yourself, Grandmaster, and came acquainted with the BSK system.
And how about you, Cam?
Yes, sir. So I started martial arts when I was 3. My uncle was in between jobs, running around like crazy, trying to help my mother, who was a single parent. He used to take me with him down to, it was like a gym, like they could lift weights, and they had a matted area. And my cousin and I, he would, work with us every once in a while. And then he began to say he was going to take us home so he could go to the big school. And we never knew what the big school was. We just knew that the space, the formats we had, and the information he gave us. And man, it was so hard just to get a uniform. He was so hard on us. I just never really understood it, but he was prepping to later take us to what was known as the big school. At that time, Maryland's Best Karate was in West Baltimore, and the head teacher there, who was my instructor, who would later come on to take me on as his son, Grandmaster Gerald Dawson, teaching the system of Dawson's Chongdo-kwan Taekwondo. It is the original Korean karate system before politics, ITF, WTF, and I was in there, and I'm still there. Through some unfortunate events, I've been put in the highest seat there, and I only sit in that seat with his permission. But I oversee Maryland's Best Karate now. I've been there since I was 3. I trained from 3 to 6. I didn't meet him until I was 6. So that's where I count my training, but understanding push-ups very well since 3. I've been as his physical presence is no longer with us as of 2018. The last conversation I had with him was to seek someone to make myself better. My father used to run certain classes that he used to categorize them. And the last objective from the last conversation we had was to create a melting pot where it was not a judo class or karate class or a taekwondo class. He left me with the job to find a melting pot of martial arts. And I never wanted to lean on my own understanding. And when I found yourself, I mean, it was no more confirmation that this was the truth and where I needed to be. And I just thank Allah that you were graceful and merciful enough to accept me. So this is where I am today, sir.
Awesome, awesome. And with both of you, you run successful schools at this time. You have children, you have adults. I wanted to find out from you and get you to talk about starting the school. How did you actually start your own school? Even with respect to having been under someone that was running a school, maybe, well, let me let you all, share what your story is as it relates to your starting your school. What did you already have in place, or did you have to get things in place in order to begin?
So for me, I was a young husband / dad coming out of college, and I was just navigating. I was taking any job I can get. A lot of them were absolutely miserable. It was hard labor when I was a mover. I was in the medical field, and it was just stinky, and I hated the atmosphere. So I was just jumping around and was kind of miserable jumping from place to place. But one day I was listening to a lecture from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and he said, more than likely, whatever you are good at is what you were born to do. And when I heard that, that just kind of struck a chord in me. And I was like, okay, instead of me just jumping from job to job, I really wouldn't stay at any place for longer than a few years before it would kind of wear and tear on me and I would find something new. So I asked myself that question. I said, okay, what am I good at? And what do I enjoy doing that it doesn't feel like work? And I immediately came up with the thought of 2 things. Number 1 was chess that I've been playing since 6 years old. And the second one was martial arts that I had been doing since 11 years old. And both of them I've competed nationally, competed all across the country, locally, regionally, you name it. And it just felt natural to me. So I said, okay, how can I combine these 2 things together? So that's when I was working on the thought of martial arts and chess becoming one. So I called it Lion's Paw Karate and Chess Academy. And that was where I had my start. I was completely ignorant, Jim. I didn't know how to run a business. I wasn't charging the right prices. I had us working out on tile floors where if you fell and took a spill, it hurt it with extra collateral damage on it. But over time, just through experience, bumping my head, and then eventually I became a little bit more mature about it. I started to search around the country for schools that I could mimic myself after and learn some of their business practices. And from there on, it just started to escalate until now. We're going on 9 years in business, and we're one of the more successful schools in Chicago.
Awesome. That's excellent. And we're going to get back to that chess piece too now, because that's a whole nother conversation too. All right. All right, Sister Cam.
Yes, sir. So I was without knowing, being prepped for becoming a business owner from the time, like I said, of 6. And I made that connection with my father. So there was never a doubt in my mind for what I love doing. But I know that I wanted to ensure that no child had the experience I had. And the experience that I had that concreted what I wanted to do was my mother, who was dating someone else at the time, someone that was abusive to her. They were standing at the top of the stairs, and he told her, if you speak again, you're gonna learn how to fly. Man, and she went to say, utter another word, she went down the steps. I mean, I don't remember if it was a push, shove. I mean, but she fell so fast and so hard that she was in the wall, like didn't hit any steps on the way down. So me with my little karate, or what I thought I had, ran down the steps, and he was about to, swing on her. And I did my look, and I realized that when he swung, it knocked me over. And that was something that made me realize that karate has to be real for me. And I always went to class, and my instructors never knew what I was going through. And as I went through that experience and I began to train like you teach us, with the spirit of the threat being present, as I began to train with that being real, I knew if I can save anyone from a situation or a run-in like that, then I would do my best to run a martial arts school. So I spoke up for myself and advocated for myself to wanting to be a business owner, maybe really articulating the thought, maybe like 12, 13 years old. And my father just kept me by his side. I mean, as he opened schools, as he closed schools, as he got behind on bills, the good, the bad, the ugly, he was very honest with me. Hey, I went to a tournament and spent this money, and I can't pay the rent because I made a bad decision here. I mean, but all those things groomed me for the day that my family walked in the door and let me know that my father had a heart attack in his sleep. It was no hesitation. I mean, and more so, not even time for tears, because this is what we spoke about. And he was so direct with me that we would practice him not being here. And people would tell him he was crazy. He would sit like in the lobby of the karate school, and I would be 13, 14, and he would say, all right, I'm just evaluating how you would run the school. So if the phone rang, he wouldn't answer it. I'd be on the floor teaching. How do I balance the phone? How do I balance the business? I would try to sign people up at 14 and have to be mature enough that they take me serious to pay real money. And if I tried to work a deal or anything like that, then he would come behind me and say, you messed up here, 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 here. And we worked that, until the day that he passed. So it was almost like a football team who runs a scrimmage. And you run a scrimmage so that when it's time to get in the game, that you know what it is. And unfortunately, that game and that circumstance was no longer his physical presence. And once I got word that that's where we was going, then it was no more rehearsing. It was live. So now that I've run 2 successful martial arts schools, one in Elk Ridge, Maryland, and one in Glen Burnie, Maryland, I'm just carrying the essence and spirit of what he wanted to have in place, along with making sure that I set my own foundation also, and now having this love for what I'm doing within the VSK Jiu-Jitsu system, I'm just looking to spread the understanding, GM, that you have given us within this infinite and timeless system of Sanukas.
That's a beautiful, beautiful story, and a difficult story, of course. Just knowing that, and it just makes me to understand that we as fathers and fathers of students as well, we have to prepare our students, our sons and daughters, to be prepared for what you can help them to be prepared with. Whatever you can share with them and actually run them through it, because just letting them be present is not good enough in this day and time, and we have to teach them. So that's excellent. Excellent. I commend and give great courtesy to your father for doing what he did with you. And was there anyone else that he was doing that with?
No, sir, not to that extent. I mean, I've been in business meetings, like what they will call in the martial arts industry, martial arts madness mind. Martial arts masterminds. That's what they call those, groups that they go over strategies and the nature of the business. I've been in them probably since I was 9 years old. Talking about, what should you charge, what not to charge, how to deal with your staff. I mean, but even through me fighting it, Dad, I just want to go to McDonald's. You talking about going to a business meeting. I don't know nothing about that, but it's something that he made me be studious over. And of course, just like we have a bad habit of doing with our great men, it's not appreciated until they are physically no longer here. So I did not understand that. I would fight him tooth and nail on, all right, I got it. And then he'd be like, show me. I mess it up. I'm like, no, I got it. Show me. Mess it up. But he never dealt with me in a sense of frustration. And that's something that even struck me very, very great, even when you taught me. And I dealt with people that you taught. It was such a patient feeling that I've always wanted to give that back. And when you are patient in your business, when you are patient in your teaching, when you are patient in your life, then those things will come to you in due time. And that's something that's always stuck with me.
And Jim, if I can chime in, two thoughts come to mind when Cam just spoke about his background. Number one, this is not to take anything away from anyone else, no matter what their schools are, but in Chicago and in Baltimore where he is, there are a lot of karate schools that they really can't bang. They just really, the art essence of it is not there.
That's right.
They can do the moves, they can go through the motions, but as far as actually practical ring usage, having power, solid technique, good form, good spirit, all of that, I think our schools in our respective cities separate ourselves from a lot of the other competitions. Not that there aren't others out there, but for the most part, it separates us. And his background helped him to have that mentality about his training. And I didn't have such a traumatic experience that brought me that way. But just a little bit of background, Master Winder, when he was training us as young people, he was the new guy on the block. He was the younger instructor, the younger school owner with the new upcoming proteges. But there were other schools that were much more, they had much more seniority, if you will. So they had the experience, the lineage behind them. It was a lot of years put into the arts. And I remember as a young boy, when we would compete, it was a totally different atmosphere from like it is now. When we fought back then, it was like, now you had to come with smoke or else you was going to get smoked. So when we would go to these tournaments, it would, riots would break out. We've had tournaments canceled just because everybody was fighting in it. So our approach to training was a lot different because we couldn't have the powder puff techniques. We had to have real solid side kicks, real seeking reverse punches. It was like we really had to train like that. And I thank Allah for that background because it brings my approach to what we do now to a different mindset as opposed to others. And then the second point I was thinking about was his father training him in the business aspect. Like I said, when I first started, I was clueless in that area. So I had the wrong price points, no mats on the floor, no insurance. I was just all over the place. And I winded up taking a trip out to New York. I reached out to a brother that I had seen online. Shout out to Master Jotty Tension. And I reached out to him and I said, hey, I see you doing a wonderful thing online. Is it possible that I can pay my way? I just want to come out to New York, check out your programs. I'm not going to bother you. I'm not going to ask you no questions. I just want to sit and watch and absorb everything that you're doing. And he, of course, obliged. Come to find out later, we had a connection because his mother was a former first officer in the nation. So I was like, oh, this is love. So once we found that out, it was all peace and love. But I sat there for 3 days, paying my own hotel, paying my own flights and everything. And I studied how he ran business. In New York, it's a little bit of a different standard of living. So I had to make some adjustments coming back to Chicago because prices are a little crazy in New York. And I was like, I know I can't get away with that in Chicago. But I took a lot of the things that he had learned, and bringing that business acumen is what helped Lions Park evolve out of the mom and pop rigmarole, school into a actual institution that's trying to push for more and more. So I share those same backgrounds and sentiments. So now when you give us a system like VSK Jiu-Jitsu, all of it's coming full circle because it's like, okay, I was bred for this. Real techniques, how to really keep people off of you, because when I was training, it was like at 13, 14, 15, you're already being considered to be thrown up in the men's division. And if you came in the men's division, and just to give you context, in my senior year of high school, I had just bumped up from wrestling 103 to 112. That's how little I was. So go as a 103 pounder or 112 pounder into a men's division. I mean, you look like a T-bone steak to I knew I had to have some solid technique. So my approach was totally different. Like he said, with the shoe toes, our bread and butter was that sidekick. I knew I had to keep them big boys and grown men up off me with that sidekick. So I just want to share that because he triggered those two thoughts.
Nice. With your coming up in, in these schools, okay, there are various styles of instructors that, they demonstrate. Well, let's go here because both of you are competitors, have been competitors. You're out there doing a lot of banging, a lot of the art. Tell me what do you see, or what have you seen in your coming up in the tournament arena? Tell me about that in relationship to what your thoughts are in the real life arena.
Yes, sir. Being taught for tournaments, we were never taught to separate the two. And that's been one thing that has made it easier for me to have this understanding of what VSK is. So when you start breaking down to what Soke has given us with the kumite part, understanding timing, distance, and technique, and we spar to stay sharp, to keep our reflexes on point, but we don't sell out. And this is not saying that anybody has sold out. I understand that we're in a day and age of, safety and, insurance is a big thing. But I was taught that the same kicks and punches that I throw in competition, it should work for me if somebody gave me an issue on the bus stop, the playground. And that teaching has undoubtedly separated me from the rest of the competitors. Having instructors that are honest with you. And GM, one of the things that let me know and concreted that I was where I needed to be, my father always told me, you know how much I love you based on how hard I hit you. So the first time I saw GM, he says, oh, this is who your uncle was talking to. Oh, okay, come here. So at that time, I don't know what this is. I was like, oh, okay, cool, man. He thinks I'm pretty cool. So then the first shot happens. Oh yeah, he loved me. He loved me a lot. So that was one of the things that concreted for me, is that an honest instructor who teaches you how to keep those techniques intact and does not sell out has been a tremendous help. So, I can just bear witness that the teaching, GM, that you're giving through the VSK works on every stage. Brother Daniel and I were just in Miami, and I was fighting and I fell off the stage. As soon as I fell off, I heard his voice. He said, he all right, because he knew I was going to roll out.
Absolutely.
I mean, on top of the platform, as big as I am, he said, he all right. I mean, but that's us knowing what the teaching is, and us being on the same page has been a beautiful thing. So that's my 2 cents on that, sir.
Beautiful.
So the tournament world has clearly
Can't hear you.
can you hear me now?
Yes. There you go.
Okay. The tournament world, although it has some good competition, I will admit that it lost its way. The reason I say that is one of the things that when I study into the history of karate, a lot of the things that I've learned from you, Grandmaster, were actually supposed to be a part of karate, but because it got more commercial and it was turned more into a business as opposed to the art and business, a lot of things were lost in translation. So most karatekas today cannot fall properly. Most karatekas today cannot throw. Most karatekas never work on sweeping. And it's all purely striking, which is only one dimension of the background of karate, because you're supposed to have locks, throws, sweeps, and falls in the original systems of karate when it was being developed. So one of the things that I appreciate about VSK Jiu-Jitsu is that it's returning all of those lost things that were there in its inception and is bringing it back. Not that it's meant to be used in every single tournament, I'm not saying that, but the beauty of what Brother Cam and I have done on the tournament scene is that even when you're teaching us techniques, you even teach us that it's better to get off first. And being a point sparring type of competitor, that's what we're aiming for. Can you get off first before the other person gets off? And when you get off, can you find yourself in a position where it's hard to counterattack and get hit from the secondary punch or the secondary kick that's coming behind your technique? So VSK is not, I don't separate the two. I believe that we're just helping, Cam and I are helping with the fusion of it all so that those who do point sparring, they can stop talking ill of the jiu-jitsu, of the locks, of the self-defense. They can stop talking crazy because we're going to show them if they don't believe it. And then on the opposite side, in the self-defense world, they speak ill of point sparring. And we want to show them that the speed, the agility, the reflex, the timing, the distance control, all of that is just as necessary in the self-defense application as it is. So I just see a beautiful fusion of both worlds coming together from, of course, yourself, and then the 2 students that's here in the interview that are learning more and more from you each day.
Awesome.
Brother Daniel, if I can piggyback off of you, this tournament thing that we do keeps us fighting. I mean, if you really have to go through the timeline of when people really get into scuffles, there is so much time in between. I'm not talking about, you push out, but a real scuffle, you're not trying to come across that every other weekend. But the tournaments maintain the timing, the distance, the technique to challenge your mind, your body. And what does GM teach us? Cardio. I mean, if you're talking about going to a major tournament, and we're fighting 14 fights in one day, an average assailant, they're not willing to go that far. By the time they hit the bottom of their gas tank, that's only the second fight for us. So it's something that keeps us ready, and it keeps the warrior spirit there because it's something that allows your competitiveness to keep going there, to get better every day. But without that goal or that competition, you are practicing. You are training when you have a goal. So we know we take 8 to 12 weeks out between every tournament, and we are, eating more strict. We still stand on divine law. We're doing our best to prepare our minds and our bodies for combat. So if you catch us in that mindset, we are sharper than just walking around with no goal. Yeah, I just came out of practice. But when you know you're going somewhere to fight somebody that wants to defeat you, once somebody presents a threat, you're already in the mindset. So yes, in the tournament, we are competing to be victorious, but if we have to defend ourselves, we want to be victorious with leaving with our life. And this tournament thing that they call soft, or they may call not real fighting, it's the concept that they miss. Timing, distance, and technique. All combatives have that in common. The better timing, the better distance, the better technique will make that person very, very efficient on getting the job done. So if we are fighting someone who has those concepts and we are battling chess in motion physically, then we are better prepared and more prepared for the person who is not practicing as often as we are. Most people, if you ask them, their last scuffle was a few years ago. But if we just got done fighting last weekend, I'm telling you, you're not going to make it through.
I like the fact that you mentioned the chess, okay? And it's going to move me to that. In terms of chess, well, let me give you an idea here too. I don't know if they've done this or not. Maybe it'll be something good to teach martial artists chess, but maybe lay out some martial art figurines, figures that you can begin and will be pieces that you'll use on your chess set, or and it'll be martial arts figures that'll, this is a rook and this is a bishop, but I'd like to see what your images of a bishop. But anyway, that's an idea for you.
Absolutely.
So you merged, or I don't want to even say merge because it was something that you had, so you just did it. But you have chess, you do this chess thing. What's your status as it relates to playing chess? Are you just you just like to play chess and you're an average guy playing chess? Tell me a little bit about your status as a chess player.
Absolutely. So I've been playing since 6. I initially just learned because my father had friends that would come over the house. They'll pull out the chessboard, get to talking crazy and talking trash to each other and just playing. And as a little boy, I was watching. So I was like, okay, this is interesting. But I didn't really get serious in it. Again, seeing those peer groups really helps. The same way it did in martial arts. Once I saw other young people playing chess, I was like, oh, this is a whole world. This isn't just come over on weekends. This is actually people traveling, playing for teams. So once I saw that at the age of 11, which is when I got serious in both disciplines, I began to study a little bit more. And people don't realize that chess has been around for such a long period of time that a lot of the things that can happen in those initial stages have already been done. So it's like you don't need to reinvent the wheel. I don't have to reinvent in martial arts a jab and a cross or a seeking and a reverse punch or a psychic. It's already there. I just have to arrange it in a way to make it effective. And chess is very similar because there's positions called openings. There's a middle game and there's an end game. But in the opening, unless you don't know what you're doing, I generally am giving about 12 to maybe 15 moves that are already prearranged. And if you can survive those first 12 to 15 moves that are already prearranged, then we go into our own thought patterns and we get past those initial stages. But what you'll find most times is that, similar like in martial arts, a lot of people talk a good game, but once you take them into those waters and you see that they're not responding correctly, then you don't stand a snowball's chance in hell because I'm going to eat you alive because I know that you don't know what you're doing. But if you can keep up in those initial stages and respond properly, then I know I got to take you into deeper waters to make sure that I come out with the advantage. And it's the same thing in the martial arts. When we're sparring or fighting, if I throw that fake or that fake chambered side kick and I don't get the hand drop or I don't get the foot movement to get off the line or something's not happening, I know that that's an area of weakness. So I begin to attack that area because you didn't respond properly to the setup that I gave. So chess is very similar. But long story short, I merged both of those worlds because martial arts is just like chess. Martial arts is life. And when you understand the game of chess properly, chess is just like life. So merging those two things were never a conflict. It wasn't something that I had to really sit down and plot out and strategize. they naturally go together because a person that is in the elite status of being a fighter also has elite thinking patterns. They're very disciplined mentally. A lot of people are not aware of that. They think it's just a gift and talent, but talent only takes you so far. That'll take you to black belt. But to get into those elite circles of fighting, you have to be processing while you're competing. And one of the funniest things I ever heard was at the last year's Scimitar Open at the National Training Convention. Cam and his TDE squad, it was D-Stacks, it was Zach. They were going against a Chicago-based team. And I'm listening to Cam while I'm judging the ring. I'm listening to him on the side. And he's calling out all of these plays to D-Stacks, and D-Stacks knows what he's talking about. And I'm like, this is crazy. But again, it shows you that there's a mental side to everything that we're doing. It's not just physical. It's not just the ability to do a technique. It's actually processing what's happening, processing what you're looking at, processing the response, and coming up with an action plan in real life time. So I think they just merged together beautifully. So yeah, we teach chess and we teach martial arts, but my official rank in chess is I'm a national master. So there's not many, period, regardless to race or creed or color, but especially being a black brother, is definitely not many masters that are black. So just achieving that title alone puts me in the top 1% of chess players in the world.
Oh man, that's awesome, awesome. And in terms, Cam, in terms of your, did you just win something most recently? Tell me about it.
So recently was the Ocean State Grand Nationals. They have a division where they put anybody that's over the age of 18, as long as you have a black belt, no matter style, weight, size, we put us all into one group. And we fought down to the final 8. So I believe it was 60 something of us. We fought down almost like a March Madness bracket. We fought down to the final 8 on Friday night. Then we do a Saturday night show, which they sell tickets to. They allow everybody to come. It's not anything huge. It's just a ballroom. It's not like a stadium or anything like that. So they come and just watch the fighting. I was blessed enough to make it down to the final 4 and to win the final fight. So that's the biggest competition on the East Coast as far as prize money is concerned, and that's the event that brings the most competitors out. And it's definitely a blessing to be able to come out on top, and we thank Allah for the victory.
Awesome. Is that one? Have you won that one before?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We just go back to keep improving our skill over and over again. I don't really compete often. I only compete when they bother me. But of course, I had both of my sons, Zachariah and Aziel. And since we've had our children, they had questions of, was I focused, or can I still compete at the level that I did? So I got my butt in a 12-week training camp, and we went up there and got the job done. I think Allah that everybody left safely. But major thanks to everybody who competed, regardless win, lose, and a draw. And it always is good to test yourself. Now I'm not a chess player like Brother Daniel is, but I'm a physical chess player, and I can respect the thought process. And you are constantly collecting information. And my fighting has went to new heights since practicing and studying under you, GM, especially when we talk about within the physical chess, we understand that every action has a reaction. So you teach us to respect that we are striking, but to respect the reaction that comes from you striking. And that helps us set certain positions and certain plays. Though Brother Daniels may be on the chessboard, we are doing a physical chess where I know that stepping left will force you to step somewhere, and I will make another move, and ultimately I'm trying to dethrone the king and queen. So it's the ultimate goal to be in the best position to make sure it's beneficial to me. So though I can't bear witness to it on that board, a fighting ring, I think I can do pretty good.
Awesome. Maybe at some point you can show me and share with me in terms of just with some different fights that we can see the whole fight, because it can happen in boxing as well, and see assign various things. Look at this movement. That was a diagonal movement. Look at this one. It was a forward movement, but then he shifted over to the left or to the right, looked like it was a couple of steps and then came back, so it sounds like a knight. It sounds like a, so maybe we can kind of look at that and label it, so that we can really assess those kinds of things on the board and use that to help create even more not excitement, but bring more affinity for a martial artist who's not necessarily interested. But if he can be made to see that the movements are the same kinds of movements, if you look at it from a particular way. I'm enjoying this conversation just to, the thought, because I'm not a chess player either, in terms of formally playing chess, but I do want to. I want to learn to play chess. I was actually, there was you introduced me and took me out, Daniel, to a golf course, where it was a intro golf course, and I enjoyed it. But you want to know that you can do whatever you do because you want to do it, and not not hit or miss. You know what I'm saying? You want to know that you can do it every time you want to do it, and so that has inspired me. And I just actually was I took my grandson to a golf training, if you will. And the brother who is teaching it is someone who was a PGA, this and that, and I'm going to be looking to get some more training from him as well, so I can meet you on the golf course, sir.
We're learning together in that regard. But I will say this is what made a karateka, if you will, want to fall underneath your teaching and tutelage, is that in the chess world, on a mental level on the chessboard, I generally know how to take people into very deep waters. And if you have a certain level of proficiency in chess, you will not only admit defeat and loss, but you will acknowledge and feel the strength or the force behind what beat you. So the average person that just said moves, oh, he won, okay, he captured the king, okay, cool, it's over. But to those with a higher level of understanding, it's like, oh, that was not just a loss. That was a convincing, deep waters, took you out the book type of loss. And when I was doing the martial arts with you, that's one of the things that made me appreciate what you do and what you have to offer. Because of course I could see you giving techniques and we were working through some moves, and I was like, okay, he's sweet. Oh, I see this. It looks good. But it was not until I uki'd for you where I was able to be touched by you. And I was like, I'm seeing the technique as an average person would see it. But in the midst of the average technique, I'm also feeling other stuff. And I'm like, wow, I'm getting drowned in some deep waters right now. Like, I know if I was on the sideline, I would not have recognized the extra in between hits and techniques that were being delivered. But because I was feeling, I'm like, wait, did he just break my elbow? Ow. Ooh. And I'm feeling all of this. I was like, oh, he's different. I got taken into deep waters. This is not just an average beatdown. This is an exceptional beatdown. And that's what made me have respect for you. And then looking into the VSK system, of course, it points back because you've never been bashful about the masters that you come behind. So then to look at Grand Professor V and Dr. Moses Powell and Soke Little John Davis and getting footage about them and seeing what molded and shaped you, that's what made me fall in love with the VSK system, because it wasn't shallow. It wasn't just something that looked good but had no practical usage. It's a deep system, and depending on how deep you are, determines how deep are the waters that you can take us into. So I appreciate even having an opportunity to be on this call with you.
Man, awesome. And the truth is, and we should always recognize the truth is that we are all on the same level as it relates to ourselves and God. When we talk about Allah, when we talk about God, that we are all equal in a particular sense to Him. So when we handle each other, we should handle each other with the same level of respect. That it doesn't matter how long I've been training. It doesn't matter the tremendous masters that I've trained under. What matters is that, do you handle people like you want to be handled? Do you share with them the things that you want to have somebody, or would like to have somebody share with you? And so no one has to trouble themselves or worry themselves about losing something, because the old rumor about you didn't teach him everything, did you? well, to have someone who have been studying for over 50 years, and and to have someone else, even though they can absorb and swallow what it is that you're giving them, and that is the blessing that they are able to do that. But along with technique comes maturity and understanding it. And this is the thing, and you may remember me talking about this. I say that one of our students, he's exceptional in terms of being able to draw the information in and remember it. But I said that you have to have and get a relationship with the technique, and I assessed it and presented it like this. You may think that you know the technique, it's just like that woman, you see, that sister that you fell for, you really like, and you think you know her, you see, but if you don't give her some time, if you don't get to know her better, you're going to make mistakes that you don't need to make. So you have to have a relationship. So the question is, how long do you need to get to know her before you truly feel like you know her? Mm-hmm. So just to throw that out, it's having that relationship. So you want everyone to experience not the what do you call it, in the world, some of the people, when they're meeting a girl, it's they want to have a relationship immediately upon their getting to know her, just that quick, right? What is some of those things called, but nonetheless, you don't want to even present yourself to her like you want her to think you know her that well, and you just met her. That's the kind of thing that should turn a woman off, because that shows, and it brings up the word that was mentioned, which is shallow, right? That means that the man is shallow because he's not even trying to get to know her. Mm-hmm. All he's trying to do is get to experience her. So anyway, let's move on from there. Is there anything that you want to touch on or say from what we just talked about? Anybody? Okay. Good. Okay. So now, again, I respect your own standing and how you are able to stand as men on your own. But you have the knowledge, and you of course have been now studying under me, but you got all of these other masters. When I say all of them, I mean the lineage that you fall under, and that is Grand Professor Florindo Visitacion, who taught the great Dr. Moses Powell and Soke Littlejohn Davis. So you have Grand Professor V, then you have Dr. Moses Powell, and you have Soke Littlejohn Davis. Tell me what your thoughts are about those individuals.
Amazing. I mean, that is to look at the foundation that they were given, regardless if it was Aikido, karate, doc with boxing, the Kung Fu backgrounds, and we have to listen to the stories and examples that they gave us, because they let us know they were under certain people for a certain amount of time to get the essence of what was being taught. Regardless if it was a technique, if it was a concept, they never hid those things from us. It's not as if we don't know that, but what about the work that went into developing the understanding? So you can nibble, but in order to create your own dish, there are certain ingredients that must be present, and that's the part that's always floored me with the things that Doc, Soke, and Professor V have done, because you can come as you are, but you don't leave the same. You know, it's such a blessing to even the patch behind you, the United Schools of Survival patch. I mean, so many people came to these giants and they left knowing, and they left submitting to whatever the teachings were, or called self-defense complete, Vijitsu, whatever it was at that time. It was always the truth. And regardless of the name, the spirit of the art and the practicality of the art was always there. So when you look at a Professor V, when you look at a Doc, when you look at okay, in my opinion, if it's someone who is that well versed, and you're looking at the concept of movement backed by mathematics and science. For example, no one was talking about, and maybe I just don't know, right? Because the higher generations want to throw books around and say, well, this person did it first. Okay, fine. I have not witnessed, and I am a karate nerd. I don't do nothing else. I don't do anything else. I don't know anybody talking about creating shock over the heart, which is now coming to be understood with an unfortunate event of the young brother on the Buffalo Bills who just got touched and he collapsed the way that he did. But when Doc taught over, under, who was talking like that? I mean, you can say, yeah, it's just a reverse punch and an uppercut. No, it's the thought that went behind it. It's the understanding of anatomy, the science and mathematics that back the teaching, which will make the teaching always right and exact. It's that makes that teaching undefeated. And they have told us that they come from somewhere. So we have to follow that example. And yes, we come from somewhere, and we are coming to you to fill us up as you see that we need to be brought into the understanding and complete understanding of what this martial arts thing is about. But not every Kung Fu person can go into an Aikido school, and not every boxer can go into a karate school. But watch a Doc, Soke, Professor V, and how does everybody in the room feel at home? Everybody feels at home. And then with what you have added as far as your ability to feel the room in the audience, that is one of the best teachings that you have given us, because now we waters and we can swim as need be.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you.
And for me, I think that the forefathers of VSK, if you will, Grand Professor V, Dr. Moses Powell, and Soke, to me, they represent different elements. Of course, all lethal, all deadly. Just watching them on old footage, being able to work and actually be in the presence of Soke. I didn't get the privilege to be in the presence of Dr. Moses Powell, but I've seen enough footage, and from interacting with you, I believe that I understand a lot of the concepts that he has. Of course, some are over my head still, but those experiences, to me, Grand Professor V, although deadly, he represents like that unassuming aspect of VSK. Looks very humble, very small, very short in stature, but when you actually get into what he teaches, you're like, oh wow, this little dude I really underestimated. My bad, oops. Right. And then Dr. Moses Powell, and I get from him like just impeccable swag. First of all, he was lethal. If you understand the science of what he's teaching and how he had just the understanding of the human anatomy to that degree. But along with that, it was that swag that really made, it was his walk and his cadence. And, you know, it looked like he was going to kill something. He wasn't as unassuming as Grand Professor V, but it was the swag of Dr. Moses Powell. And then Soke, he was just that ruthless, in the right way, barbaric type of guy, right? And it's just like, wow, the places that his mind can go to, right? And just the ruthlessness of what he does. You know, these are like different elements of the VSK system. And I think that you are a synergy where, depending on what atmosphere or what climate we're in, I think you have elements, and I've seen traces of elements of all of them, where you have the swag GM that's going to do this. You have the lethal killer version GM where he's fighting and strategizing, and you can see him seeing deeper into techniques. You got right. that Soke side where it's just like, ooh, that made me cringe when you explained or did X, Y, and Z. And then you also have that humbleness and that humility of Grand Professor V. So I believe that you're a perfect synergy of them, but this is the beauty and the depth of the VSK system, because they all have their different components, but it's a reason that Dr. Moses Powell asked you to name what it is that you have, because he knew that it wasn't just him. He knew that it wasn't just Soke, and Grand Professor V knew that it wasn't just him. You were a compilation or the offspring of what those three legends were able to synergize into one. So that's my take on the VSK.
Beautiful, beautiful.
It's very it's very easy to, you know, point and say, you know, who did what and who said what. But when you have been a teacher for as long as Doc sat under Grand Professor V and Soke sat under Doc, is it that we don't understand what those men, is it that we would believe that they don't know what they were doing? I mean, how many students came through with the opportunity? And the fact that Doc selected one to make that decision, I mean, it's only right that you fall in line. It's actually disrespectful to not fall in line, because this is the continuation of the revelation of martial arts that's been revealed to us. I mean, this is the man that we are following. And if you are in complete understanding and you are aligned with GM and Brother Daniel, I know that you know this, it's a feeling. He's not even teaching you a karate system. I mean, that's so surface level. You have to really stand in front of him, right? And Brother Daniel, I'm saying this to you because I know it's something that you can bear witness to. I've seen people get in front of GM and they hold back. Mm-hmm. But you can non and void the teaching by doing that. So when I stand in front of GM, and this is all jokes aside, and this may be, this is not what he told me to say, I am ultimately prepared to die every time I step in front of him, straight up. And you can ask him, I attack him much differently than everybody else does. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I genuinely believe it. I genuinely believe that what he is teaching, and I'm in submission to the process, that he is the one to take us to that next level of understanding. And the reason why I'm touching on this is because if these are the forefathers, and Grand Professor V wanted to make a way for GM, and GM said, oh, no, no, no. And, and then Doc says, name it. And then Soke says, this is your way. This is where you're sitting. I mean, we have all of the forefathers in agreement on this one man, and we still have people fighting that process. That does not make sense.
And what that reminds me of is when it says, like in the scriptures, you judge a tree by the fruit that it bears. Just look at
yes, sir.
We know I'll just speak for myself, and you can bear witness, Cam, if you felt this as well. But we've been to atmospheres where there's many masters and grandmasters in the room.
Yes, sir.
And when they're walking around to give whatever expertise or knowledge that they give, of course, as students, we're humble enough to receive it. But it's a clear difference when you've been touched by a real master. And there is no one that I've come across as of yet that has had that same level of, like you said, when you feel like you're being touched by a different human being.
Right.
Only Jim provides that. The other ones can offer it. And of course, I'm humble enough to take their insights, their guidance. I'll try whatever they're asking me to try. But it's different. When GM touches you and when he's guiding and teaching you, it's like a whole different atmosphere, a whole different energy. And I just think that goes to show that those forefathers, as we were talking about, they knew what they were doing. They weren't just speaking just to speak. They weren't trying to stroke his ego. They knew what they were looking at, and they knew what they taught. And sometimes you can look at what you're taught and you can look at the further expression of it, and you just have to submit to it, because at the end of the day, it's not about any individual. It's about the truth. And if he's doing it in a way that brings more truth and more life to what's, or more death to what's being done, then you have to just bear witness to the fact that it's the truth. And I think a lot of people allow their egos to impede that process. But for all of us who are just neutral bystanders and we're just experiencing it, the experience tells everything you need to know.
And brother, if they only understood that if he demonstrated what's in his mind, we would think differently of him. I mean, do y'all really think he is showing us everything that's in his mind? I mean, do y'all see his face when he be by himself practicing? No, he's not going to do that to an actual person. I mean, as far as us who can for him, but the mastery is in you getting the lesson without me even hurting you. Mm-hmm. So yes, you're going to feel it, but I don't need to abuse you to get my point across. See, that's when you know you're where you feel it. And yes, there is a great pain to become a master in any field. And that's why GM presents the question of, are you willing to go through the pain to become a master? And he gives us that in the infant type a way. He's spoon feeding us. He might hit you at a 5 out of 10, and then he'll smile. It's 7 out of 10, but you can feel he never taking you to 10 out of 10. He's never trying to send you home in a manner where he's mishandling you. And that is something that is so important to me, because when you're teaching martial arts, you have the ability, you are literally holding a student's confidence, and you can transfer it to them, or you can make a fist and crush it. And that's the real power of being in those positions. And sometimes, I'm not saying this is everyone, but the generations who feel differently about the generations that came after them, maybe because we don't want to be thrown on the gym floor because science has taught us that that's not the proper way to treat your body. I mean, this is not that it's not that we're being soft. I mean, is it that we're thinking? I mean, do we not have the right to think? But there are some generations who perceive that the evolution of teaching has made things soft. But how is it that GM maintains the integrity, the spirit, and everybody goes home and able to go to work following day? Do you feel it? Yes, but Are you being abused? Do you feel taken advantage? What do you feel when you leave? I've never been punched by somebody in the face and felt happy about it. I mean, I literally want GM to hit me. I mean, I've never had that relationship with anyone. I mean, and the fact that somebody can make you feel like that, you know, you start saying, man, it's an honor to be hit by you. Crazy to somebody who don't understand it, but for us, that is very, very clear.
And I'll also chime in. A couple of thoughts that were triggered as well. I know GM wants to move on, but I want to put this, you know, Walking with a Master podcast, one perfect session in place to drop this. But GM, I asked maybe about a month ago now, and I asked him because I was wearing the Dr. Moses Powell T-shirt underneath my gi when I was training, and I saw the little doctor, and I said, GM, what made Dr. Moses Powell a doctor? Like, how did he get the title? Like, who gave that to him? And I've just been reflecting since that question on the concept of this doctor, right? What would make a martial artist a doctor? And a few experiences. Number one, what you just said helped, because you said he gives it in an infant form. Well, that's what a doctor does. A doctor gives you the proper dosage that you need so that the medication, or which is really poison, is not overdone to where the point you get sick, and it's not underdone that it doesn't treat the issues or the symptoms. So number one, a doctor has to give dosage of the medication in its proper amount. That's one of the things that stands out to me when I think about this term doctor. But along with that, I was ukiing for GM at the dojo here in Chicago, and he does a move where he throws me, and while I'm in the air, I feel him tweak my neck like a chiropractor. Where I felt like, oh, that felt good, but I'm getting thrown. I'm really supposed to be getting abused and hitting the ground right now. But I was like, wow, did this man just crack my neck mid-flight? I was like, wow. So there's an element of being a doctor where you have the knowledge of the bones, and you know exactly how much pressure to give before it's too much, and how to give just enough that they're not feeling it or their body is not responding to it. So there's a fine line dividing that. And a doctor, to me, this is just my thought, knows exactly those limits and those proportions. So I mean, of course, I'm not worthy nor of the rank to be able to give out any other titles, anything like that. But the more I study under GM and realize the doc that's in him, you know, the more I say, hey, is this man a doctor and he just hasn't been given the title? Because he's given the proper dosage. He's given just enough, never too much, never too little. And we've been to those seminars, Cam, because we've even lost eyes sometimes, where there's a master or a so-called grandmaster that comes around and they're just pure ego, trying to abuse, trying to mistreat. And I think Cam can bear witness to this, but when we have that type of experience, it's like a force field that we put up. And even though you're trying whatever technique you want, I'm in complete battle mode at this time. I'm not going to show it out of respect, but it's like, I don't care what you do right now. Nothing's going to work. Move around and find some other business, because they're abusing. They don't know the limits. They don't know the proper dosage amounts. They don't know the proper spirit of humility, how to properly do everything. So those are the ones that may have the rank, but they're not a doctor. But the one that can chiropractic my neck in the air, the one that can give me the proper dosage of pain, that's somebody who, in my little humble eyes, are approaching, if not already achieved, that status of doctor.
And we're coming from a teacher, just like a good doctor who tells us, seek a second opinion. Man, he doesn't withdraw or hold us back from going anywhere. And I recently spoke to GM in private about it, and he has never told me, don't go somewhere or don't support anyone. He's never told me that. And every time that I have, it's only bear witness to how good of an instructor he truly is from the teachers that he come from. So when they tell you, get a second opinion, a good doctor is only telling you that because it's going to bring you right back to him. But because if you truly believe what I gave you the first time and you need it to be concrete, well, walk freely, right? That's like when an animal walks out, they say, well, they know where home is. See, GM does not keep us away from any information. And if that was ever a thought in anyone's head, that is something that can be decimated at this point, because it's abruptly not true.
Wow. Well, thank you for your perception of me and this art because you're not just students of mine. You are practitioners of the art where you at this time have your own students and people that look to you for what you do, out at what you do, and they're blown, they are appreciative, and they know that you're not average, just students or average martial artists. So, and I respect and love that, because it does reflect, my teachers. It reflects them because for each of them, they are masters. They are masters who teach masters, and that's not easy, because you got to be ready for the questions, and so that your answers are not frivolous and meaningless, So I'm just thankful to Allah. I'm thankful to my teachers for blessing me with touching me. So it was their touching me that made me to understand, and my eyes, that they were open to see and not feel abused. Because I was also that one who was always wanting to be touched. I wanted to be the one called and done whatever would be done. So with that being said, I'm grateful, and I'm tremendously appreciative of others that have taught me, because you have students of Doc that were and are present, that they become a part of the training process. They may have been students under him, but you come in and you are a student under all of them, which is really being a student. See, so it's like with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I mean, there are those who study. In fact, brother Sensei Daniel is a student minister in the teachings, and in being that, you see, it's how closely they can be under the tutelage to present what it is that they're getting, that when they present it, that it will, no one is the minister, but the word is so powerful that if you deliver the word as closely to the one who is giving it to you, then you will receive the benefits that actually go to the one who was giving it, but you'll receive some of the blessings of that. So that's us in the art. In the art, as we do what we do, we pray that I can receive a portion of my teachers so that I can deliver to those who I'm teaching that. And then it's the students that you give it to that then recognize the teacher. So that's even better than recognizing you. Recognizing the teacher that you're coming from is one of the greatest gifts and recognition that one can get. So I know, man, we've gone past the hour, and this has been a great conversation, man. I tell you, you think that people, but when you get a chance to have that dialogue, that's why I don't have any trouble when someone has trouble to have some conversation with them, because you're going to get to know them better. And I'm thankful to you both, being my students, as well as, and you'll never find me rejecting the fact that even though I'm teaching you, you're teaching me, because each of you, both of you, are men who question, who want to know deeper than the ones who don't ask any questions. See, that's something for all of you out there right now. Listen, don't hesitate. Doc used to say, he said this before. He said, I don't give them all that they could get because they don't have any questions. So they're not asking. And because they're not asking, I don't take them any further. See, so this is important. So when you ask the question, you make me to rise up beyond where maybe I was even thinking. The question has inspired me to go deeper. So anyway, I'm thankful to you both for what you do. I'm thankful that you are my students as well. And I'm looking forward to more of these conversations. See, because we didn't even get into, I wanted to go into some of the old mind and the new mind, the old instructor and the new instructor. That's one we're going to have to get to now. We got to talk about that. I actually want to, you know, and it's not so much negative, positive. It's just another way of receiving and understanding. And, you know, it was something that I had done, and I'll say it publicly. You know, we've in our system, as I have grown up, I have always known that the black belts have always lined up highest rank to the left for me. And it's just been that. But when you're inspired or you look at something and it's not what it should be, see, I've been taught that the guide is always on the right, you know, it's the one who is in the right that you should look to for guidance and whatnot. You should never look to the left for the one who has the greatest guidance. So, so in that, I have set for my students and my family to choose the alternate route from what I was taught. And we're going to go guide is on the right. So all of those that are my black belts and students, they will now assemble from the right, so that if anyone looked to the right, you know, because you normally, what do we say? If somebody, man, he went left. See, you, if you say that, you're saying he went the wrong way. So we should not position ourselves in that way. And I just believe that that's something that I accepted, and it's not for everybody that's looking at this. It's only for those who see it from the angle in which I'm looking. All right. So is there anything that you'd like to say, Jesse, briefly to those that are listening out there? You've said a lot. You said so much already, but they're going to be coming back and forth to this podcast. And I pray that they get edified. But I'll open up for any last statements or instructions even to any of those that's out in the audience.
So I'm just grateful to be on the podcast. I thank you for the invitation. If I could just say one thing to everyone out there, let's unite. The world and the earth is a big atmosphere. There's more than enough for everyone. Just because my brother is in VSK just as I am now, but we both come from a karateka background, it doesn't mean nothing. That's my brother, Sensei Master Cam. And if he needs anything way out in Baltimore and I can help him out, I'm going to do so. And I know he already feels the same way, vice versa. But this is not just a closed circle. You know, martial artists should be united no matter where we go. And a lot of the old yesteryears is being lost because we're too divided. So if I could just say one thing to the entire community, let's unite, let's touch base, let's make phone calls, let's work together, be in unity, and take this world over with the martial arts that we've been blessed to learn and hopefully inspire and share with others.
Awesome.
Just to piggyback off you, sir, that is definitely right and exact. And as we are in this community, we want to understand that you're not looking to be converted. You are not looking to be changed. You know, if you come to this, if you would like to say organization, but it's more so coming to this understanding, it is only to enhance your base. When people came to Doc, he was not looking to take anything. He was not looking to have you disown your teacher. But if you are looking to concrete your thought and to further your understanding, understand that when it says VSK Jiu-Jitsu University, I mean, that is a place where you can have thorough study. You know, where GM always tells us to think about someone who goes to get their double master. I mean, if there is education available, take advantage of those things. And though you may see the demonstrations on YouTube and you may see this giant of the martial arts in action, we need to make it understood that he's very approachable. Now, not to say approach him loosely or in a disrespectful manner, because we will definitely tend to that. But it's definitely to say that whatever questions or whatever knowledge that you are seeking, if you approach it in the right manner, GM is more than willing to accept you and work with you. I think a lot of people hesitate because they feel as though that they've been in a darkness of martial arts, or they come from an instructor that can only take them but so far based on their understanding. And there are some instructors that are humble enough to say, I need you to seek more. I need you to seek more so that we can, elevate here. Not one time has GM said, if you're going to be a part of this, I need you to cut the Chondokan part of your school, and or else, I can't deal with you. No. He looks at me. He looks at me and he evaluates me and he says, "Okay, I need you to get better here, or you could work this in. Well, go ahead and put your kick in." He allows the identity to remain the same. And if anybody is watching this, or if you are subscribed to it, I would say give it a shot. What is the worst thing that can happen is that you increase your understanding. And let's say you might think that we stink and you don't want to be anymore, but at least you gave yourself a try. But if you are in my situation where your instructors, the spirit of them, yes, is still here, but that physical presence, and you are marveling over this man and this man's work and the teachers that he comes from, and you're hesitant, try. That I would say try, because I believe when I see a lot of people meet GM, they say, "Man, I always wanted to talk to you. I just don't know how to approach." And they're very, very hesitant. And yes, that is a sign of respect, but we know that there are more people that he can help and he wants to help. So for anybody who's watching or subscribed, if you have that inclination in your heart that this is something that you want to study, I mean, there is no behind closed doors, paperwork, sign 3 years of your life away, your first child, and none of that. It's really just coming to open yourself up so that we can all grow. And GM is so humble that if he sees something that you're doing, he will stop you and say, "What was that?" And he will build on that and explain to you why that is right or why that is wrong. But we are following a humble man. We are not following someone with a not even a stench of arrogance. And he makes sure that he makes that known. So GM, I don't want to love you in private and not love you in public, but I am forever indebted to you because you grabbed me at a state where my temperament can cause me to go left. And you grabbed me at a time that I needed it. And of course, my uncle, Brother D'Angelo and Muhammad, it referred me to you, and his humility to turn me over and not try to put his stamp on me. He knew where to send me, and that time that you accepted me, I am forever, grateful. And I just don't want to call you and tell you that. I don't want to text you and tell you that. That needs to be said on a public platform, because that is something that is real to me. And that's why no matter how anybody feels, a soldier for this is what I am. And I will live and die over this if that's what that time calls for.
Us. All right. Well, listen, love y'all. Love you. And hey,
Come on, sir.
out there too now. Come on, let's touch. Oh, just before you leave, where's your school at? Identify where your school is, your address and whatnot, or whatever you'd like to share, both of you. Go ahead, Cam.
Maryland's Best Karate. We have 2 locations, one in Elk Ridge, which is 6785 Business Parkway. And then the second location is in Glen Burnie, 7089 Baltimore, Annapolis. I'm sorry, Baltimore. I have to work on that. Sorry. Baltimore, Annapolis Boulevard. Sorry. I can't help it.
We gotta get you now. Baltimore.
Yeah.
You gotta say it like a Baltimorean.
Yes, sir.
And we are located in Chicago, Lions Paw Modern Martial Arts, 742 West 79th Street, right off of 79th and Halsted on the south side of Chicago. You can contact us if you like at 773-877-3236. And you can find us on all social media platforms at Lions Paw MMA. All
right. Well, welcome. Thank you once again, and may God continue to bless you. And I look forward. I'm gonna have you again. You know, we got to do this again, and because I know we're gonna go to another level with it. You know, just like we do with techniques, we're gonna do it again. All right. Well, take care. Have a wonderful day, evening rather. Us.
Love you.
Us. Sir.
Every student of a master here today, you reflect your master teacher. You want to walk like him. You want to talk like her. But you start by having an object in front of you that you admire.